There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes not from physical activity, but from emotional upheaval, where even simple tasks feel monumentally difficult, where your usual enthusiasm has disappeared, and where you wonder if you'll ever feel genuinely energized again. What most people don't understand about energy depletion during emotional healing is that it's not a sign of permanent damage or personal weakness. It's a natural part of how your system recovers from overwhelm. Just like your body needs rest after physical injury, your emotional and energetic systems require periods of low activity to process, integrate, and restore themselves. You've been through something significant: loss, trauma, major life changes, or accumulated stress, and your being is doing the invisible work of reorganization. This healing exhaustion feels different from regular tiredness because it affects multiple layers of your experience simultaneously. Your body feels heavy. Your mind struggles to focus. Your emotions feel muted or overwhelming by turns. You might find yourself sleeping more, but feeling less rested, or unable to sleep despite being exhausted. Simple decisions become overwhelming because your system is already working at capacity to process and heal, leaving little energy for daily functions. You've likely been told to just push through or get back to normal. But forcing energy when your system needs rest is like trying to use a phone that needs charging. You might get a brief flicker of function, but you'll ultimately drain what little reserves remain. Society expects consistent productivity and emotional availability, making these natural cycles of depletion feel like personal failures rather than necessary phases of healing and growth. The hidden cost of not understanding these energy cycles extends beyond just feeling tired. When you interpret low energy as evidence of weakness or brokenness, you add self-judgment to an already strained system. You force yourself to maintain previous levels of activity, depleting reserves needed for healing. You compare your depleted state to your previous energy levels or to others who haven't been through what you've experienced, creating additional suffering on top of the natural tiredness that comes with processing difficulty. This misunderstanding also leads to making decisions from a depleted state that you wouldn't make from a resourced place. You might end relationships that could be supportive, abandon projects that matter to you, or make commitments you can't sustain because you're operating from the assumption that your current low energy is permanent rather than temporary. The fatigue becomes a lens through which you see your entire life as diminished, rather than recognizing it as a phase within a larger cycle. Fighting against these natural energy rhythms also disconnects you from your body's wisdom about what you need for restoration. Instead of honoring the signals to rest, retreat, and process, you override them with caffeine, stimulation, or forced activity. This interference with natural healing processes can extend recovery time and prevent the deeper integration that comes from allowing the system to restore itself at its own pace. There's an ancient understanding that modern culture has largely forgotten. Energy moves in cycles, not straight lines. Just as seasons change, as tides ebb and flow, as day follows night, your personal energy has natural rhythms of expansion and contraction, activity and rest, depletion and renewal. What feels like permanent loss is often the necessary emptying that precedes refilling, the winter that makes spring possible. This cyclical view reframes low energy periods from problems to be solved to phases to be honored. Your current depletion isn't evidence that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that your system is wise enough to allocate energy toward healing rather than performing. The tiredness isn't a symptom of dysfunction, but a sign that important internal work is happening, even when you can't see or feel it directly. Understanding this natural rhythm allows you to work with your energy rather than against it. Instead of forcing activity when your system calls for rest, you can trust that conservation now creates the foundation for genuine vitality later. Instead of panicking about your current limitations, you can recognize them as temporary boundaries that protect your healing process from interference. The practice begins with radical acceptance of where your energy actually is right now, not where you think it should be or where it used to be. This means saying no to activities that drain your limited reserves, even when others don't understand. It means prioritizing rest not as laziness, but as an essential component of recovery. It means treating your depleted state with the same care you'd give a physical injury, protecting it, nurturing it, allowing it the time and space it needs to heal. Learn to distinguish between the tiredness that needs rest and the stagnation that needs gentle movement. Sometimes your system needs complete stillness. Other times, it needs very light activity, a short walk, gentle stretching, or creative expression that doesn't demand performance. Pay attention to what feels nourishing versus what feels draining, and honor those signals even when they don't make logical sense. Practice viewing your energy as a finite resource during this phase, budgeting it consciously rather than spending it unconsciously. If you have limited energy, invest it in activities and relationships that genuinely nourish rather than those you think you should prioritize. This isn't selfish. It's strategic resource management that supports your long-term recovery and eventual return to fuller capacity. Create rituals that honor your current phase rather than fighting against it. This might mean adjusting your environment to require less energy, simplifying your space, preparing easy meals, reducing stimulation. It might mean communicating your needs clearly to others so they understand your temporary limitations aren't rejections of them. It might mean finding gentle ways to nurture yourself that don't require significant energy output. As you begin to honor your energy cycles rather than fight them, something shifts in your relationship with tiredness itself. Instead of feeling ashamed of needing rest, you begin to see it as wisdom. Instead of forcing productivity, you discover that small, consistent actions from a centered place are more effective than large efforts from depletion. You start to trust that your energy will return naturally when your system has completed its healing work. The renewal doesn't usually happen dramatically. It emerges gradually, like dawn breaking after a long night. You notice small moments where tasks feel slightly easier, where you have brief flickers of interest in things that previously felt overwhelming. Your sleep becomes more restorative. Colors seem a little brighter. The future, which felt impossible to imagine, begins to seem possible again, not because you forced it, but because you gave your system the space it needed to regenerate. You begin to develop a different relationship with your own rhythms, recognizing that sustainable energy comes from honoring cycles rather than maintaining constant output. You learn to read your own signals more accurately, to respond to depletion before it becomes overwhelming, to rest proactively rather than only when forced by complete exhaustion. This understanding transforms how you navigate not just current difficulties, but future challenges. You develop trust in your system's ability to restore itself when given proper conditions. You become more skilled at conserving energy for what truly matters rather than dispersing it across obligations that don't serve your well-being. You remember that vitality isn't about never being tired. It's about knowing how to work skillfully with the natural ebb and flow of your personal energy. So, if something in this message speaks to your own experience of energy depletion and the fear that it might be permanent, Leave a comment with the word resting. Let it be a reminder that your tiredness is not a flaw, but a phase, that your energy is not gone, but regenerating, that rest is not giving up, but preparing for what's next. And if these words feel like permission, you've been needing to honor your current limitations, subscribe. There's more here for you. Not about forcing energy you don't have, but about trusting the wisdom of your own rhythms, learning to work with your natural cycles, and remembering that renewal is not something you create, but something you allow.